16 in a row, but I'm going to start today's show off with a theme for you all, something a little unusual. And the theme is there's always a surprise in baseball. And what do I mean by the surprise? Well, I'll start off by giving you a name. The Los Angeles Angels were eliminated from playoff contention last Tuesday against their division rival, the Houston Astros. So I looked at the starting pitching line on who was pitching the next day, and I saw a name that jumped out off the page to me. Jansen Junk. I'm not making it up. Jansen Junk took the ball for the Angels on Wednesday afternoon against the Houston Astros.
Was he throwing
Jansen Junk, he's a 26-year-old right-hander from Seattle, Washington, went to the University of Seattle. He had been thrown away like junk by the New York Yankees at the trade deadline. They traded him away to the Angels for their then ace, Andrew Heaney. They got Junk in return. Junk pitched his first major league start against Houston. He gave up a home run on a pitch that was not his junk. It was a fastball, and it was demolished. It was 2-0 Astros in the first inning. And Mr. Junk just put his head down inside and was like, oh, boy, here we go. It's going to be a long game. But guess what? Junk settled in the game. He used his junk pitches effectively. He used his slider and his curveball. And he went 4 innings for the Angels. He only gave up 3 earned. The Angels lost the game. Granted, they lost 5-2 in 12 innings. Yeah. But the moral of the story is one man's trash is another man's trash. Or in this case, one man's junk is at least another man's starting pitcher. And moving on to other things, the Cleveland Indians finished their last home game as the Cleveland Indians yesterday afternoon. They played a pretty decent game. They won 8-3. Cal Quantrill, the starting pitcher for the Indians, got his 8th win of the season to move him to 8-3. Pretty weird stuff right there. But another weird thing in the game that happened is Kyle Zimmer of the Kansas City Royals was pitching against his brother, Bradley Zimmer, tried to get ahead with a fastball, and bro knew it was coming and smacked it in the right field pavilion. And the Indians end up winning 8-3. I thought that was a great moment there. I actually saw another great moment with the Philadelphia Phillies, who are actually 3 games back in the loss column, not because they didn't win the series against the Orioles and the Pirates, but because they lost 1 game apiece to the Orioles and the Pirates. And the Braves won both of those games that the Phillies lost. They won on both of those days. So now the Braves headed into this series with the Phillies are 2.5 up. Phillies got to win every game to have a chance this weekend. So their backs are against the wall. But Shelby Miller pitched against Brad Miller of the Philadelphia Phillies. Shelby Miller of the Pittsburgh Pirates. It was Miller on Miller crime. And the announcers had a great time with that. That was another great moment I saw last week while I'm just going through all the games before the season ends.
Yeah.
And one more thing. The New York Yankees are, like I said, the most bipolar team in the major leagues. They went out there last week. They played the Indians. They got drubbed. Then they come out and they sweep the Rangers. And then they go to Boston, and Giancarlo Stanton absolutely just pulls a once in every 50-year performance. And he drove in 10 runs up in Beantown at Fenway. And he joined a list of Ruth and Mantle as the only other 2 players to drive in 10 runs. And they were all on homers in Fenway.
Hey, we don't want to hear no more about the Yankees.
They have the first wild card spot. It's not over yet. They play Toronto for 3 games. Starting tonight, they have the 3 best pitchers Toronto has. They're only 2 up on Toronto. But I do think they'll do just enough to get to the playoffs. I really believe they will because Garrett Cole is pitching. And
well, I hope you're wrong. That's why you locked.
He has had an absolutely. But yeah, Max Kepler. This is an all-star outfielder for the Minnesota Twins. The guy has not had a good season. He's hitting .218 for the Twins this year. He only had, I think, 17 homers going into last week's matchup against the Cubs. And he hit 2 in the National League ballpark to bring him to 19. So I know he's praying just for one more homer so he can get 20 and collect a little more money on that paycheck this season. I know he wants one more. And on the last one, I want to conclude on, yes, the St. Louis Cardinals are hotter than the solar system, the moon, and the stars right now. And they went up there to Chicago this past weekend, and they swept their division rival, the Cubs, right out of Wrigley. They came from behind in the last 2 games of that series, and they finished with the Milwaukee Brewers. So looking like going down the stretch, the Giants are going to win the division. I hate to say that so much right now.
Yeah, I know you
but
do.
They don't have anybody left on their schedule that probably could beat them. They play the Diamondbacks and they play the Padres, who are playing for literally nothing at this point because they've already been eliminated. And they probably don't want to help the Dodgers either. So the Giants will probably win this division. The Dodgers have the Padres and the Brewers. I believe that the Dodgers will match up with St. Louis come next Tuesday in a game that I will be firmly on the edge of my seat, praying we don't lose to St. Louis.
One loss.
Because you don't want the hot team going in the playoffs. You don't want the hot team. So, that being said, the Arizona Diamondbacks are to blame if the Dodgers season comes to an end soon. And that is your surprise in baseball for the week from Isaac Stats.
Hey, that's